you home.
Namaste. So far in this series, we've covered what is Jyotīśa and why you might want to cast a Jyotīśa chart and do a reading on yourself or somebody else, and also how to create the proper context for the reading, who you should read for and who you shouldn't read for. So basically, that's the background. Now we get to the real thing. How do you cast the chart? Well, the short answer is you need a computer. But fortunately, if you're watching this, you already have one. Either a desktop or mobile, tablet, or phone. They're all capable of generating Jyotīśa charts. All you need is the right software. So, depending on what platform you're using, there are various different levels of software of increasing capability and cost. If you just want to cast a chart for free, there's quite a few websites. Just look up online, free Jyotīśa chart. And you can input your birth data and get a chart that's adequate. Maybe not totally complete, but it has enough information that you can at least start to interpret it. If you want a program on your device, I can't really advise you about Android because I don't have any Android devices. I never have and I never will. I don't really want Google knowing everything that I do. But if you're on Mac or iOS, which I strongly advise, I strongly recommend Mac and iOS or Apple devices because of their superior integration and, of course, privacy as well. So if you're on Mac, there are various different options, but they're all kind of pricey. The best is Parāśara's Light, but that's about a $250 program. Now, what's the difference between free and cost? The paid programs have already built in the chart interpretations, so you don't have to look them up separately. Now, that could be good or it can be bad, depending on your preferences. If you want, for example, a different source of interpretations than the software uses, you're going to have to look it up by hand anyway. And actually, for learning, it's a good exercise to look up the interpretations from the source materials. We're going to link to all this in the video description, so don't worry. Don't try to get it, note down everything I'm saying or whatever. So on the Mac, things are a bit pricey. But on iOS, there are several free chart generating programs. And I could recommend any of them. They're all pretty good. The one that I use is called Jyotīśa Dashboard. And it's $10, but it's visually very elegant and it's astrologically complete. It gives all the features, that you're going to need and more probably. So I recommend that for iOS. For Windows, there's Hora. Hora is a very good program. I can't get it to work on my Windows emulation software on my MacBook. But if you have a native Windows computer, it should work just fine. It's free, and it's very complete. In fact, it's a little overwhelming sometimes. And then there are paid versions like Gauravani Jyotīśa, and I think Parāśara's Light is coming out on PC as well, on Windows. As far as Linux, I have zero idea what's available because I don't run Linux. So you're going to have to figure that out for yourself, which if you're on Linux, you're probably used to that anyway. So once you have a chart generating program, the next step is to enter your place, date, and time of birth. And I stress the time because an accurate time of birth is necessary to get accurate divisional charts, the Vargas. Also, the Lagna, the rising sign, is very important, and you need to have an accurate time of birth. So the problem is, in the West especially, people aren't aware of the predictive power of astrology. All they know is Western sun sign astrology, which is basically useless. You know, back page of the newspaper type stuff. Just a toy. But for real Jyotīśa, the birth time is very important. So here's what usually happens. The doctor is in the delivery room, delivers the baby, comes out, washes up, sits down at his desk and fills out the birth report. And when he gets to the part about the time, looks at his watch and notes down that time. And the problem is, of course, that's after the birth, from 10 minutes to maybe half an hour or even more after the birth, depending on how busy the doctor is. So this will not do. You need to find out the actual time of birth. Now, there are methods to rectify the chart, and we'll deal with those later on when we get to the Varga charts, the divisional charts. But a good way to find out the actual time of birth is to ask the people who were there. Usually the mother is kind of busy, so she's not watching the clock. She has a lot more to deal with. But the other people who were there, doctors, nurses, relatives, if any, should be asked. And actually, ideally, they should be briefed, before the birth. Keep an eye on the exact time. Because there's so much going on in a birth room that it's very easy to miss. And usually, like I said, the time listed on the birth certificate is after the actual birth. So what to do? Have somebody, have a lookout that gets the birth time. Or you can rectify the chart later, but that's not guaranteed to be accurate. Anyway, you put the time, date, and place of birth into the computer, and in a couple of seconds, you have a chart. It's that easy. So then the next thing is, well, how do you interpret the chart? How do you read the chart? Now, if you've invested money in a high-end astrology program, you will have the interpretations built in. But like I said, these may or may not be accurate or from the source that you prefer. So I've also linked down below the Bṛhat Parāśara Hora Śāstra, which is generally considered the first and most complete and accurate texts on Jyotīśa. So you'll want to consult that. And for that, I use a database program. Like I use Liquid Text. Liquid Text is for iOS or Mac OS. And it gives you a very powerful search and note-taking feature. Another one is DevonThink. DevonThink is available for Mac OS, iOS. I'm not sure if it's out on Windows, but there's probably something similar on Windows, which allows you to index a PDF file and extract the relevant parts into a separate document. It's very handy for compiling astrology reports or interpretations of a chart. Now, that's only the beginning of reading the chart. Once you have all these source notations on the various formations in the chart, you have to put them together. You have to synthesize them into a whole, and a whole that it matches the person you're reading about. That's why I said the best chart to do first is your own, because you know what happened in your life, and you'll be able to go back over the chart and see if it supports what you know actually happened. And again, the point of view is very important. Are you in karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga, or jnana yoga? Are you on the platform of duality or non-duality? On the platform of conditioned duality, or what? So you have to take all this into account when reading the chart. I strongly recommend meditation as an adjunct to reading the chart. And the reason for this is the chart is just a window into the karma of the person. Remember, what you're actually trying to read is the karma, the sanchari karma, the prarabdha karma, and the kriyamana karma of the person that you're reading for, whether it's you or somebody else. So I can recall several times when I really got into the zone and it's like I was looking through the chart. The chart was just a window into the person's actual karma, kind of like reading from the book of life or the Akashic record or whatever you want to call it. But it's a real thing, and you can access it through Jyotīśa. And this is the ultimate art of the Jyotīśa science. In India, there are legends about great Jyotishis who, merely by looking at a person's face, could tell you all the positions in your chart and everything that happened in their lives and what's going to happen as well. But this is the most advanced stage of Jyotīśa, and we may aspire for it, but you know, those people are legends beyond their time. And the most we can hope for is occasionally getting in the flow and being able to access the karmic record directly. So the next episodes are going to deal with how you extract the readings from the source material and compile them into a picture of the person's chart. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum.